Well, hello there everybody, I'm Photo Dave, that's my boring background, this is Toypixx, and in this video, 7 dream projects I'd like to see somebody in the action figure world tackle. That's right, this doesn't have to be the big H, so later on, when I ask you to comment with your own dream project, think every company and every line. Let's see what kind of craziness everybody comes up with. Now remember that the QR code in the bottom corner is for you to scan so you can get your free action figure photography guide, as well as get signed up for the Toypixx newsletter. And remember to stick around to the end of the video for today's Toypixx photo. It's newest figure day, and my newest figure is still Chuckles, but I had a little more fun with the photo today than I've been having lately, so I'm pretty stoked about it. And then even more towards the end of the video is today's Patreon freebie. And remember that everything I post on Patreon is free, so be sure to check that out. Grab whatever else you want to grab off that page. And now, without further ado, let's get to number 7 on this list, shall we? Okay, number 7 dream project would be Wallpaper acquiring the rights to do whatever Justice League story they need to do. I would have only 2 requests of that Justice League story. One would be that it has to have the Trinity. You've got to have Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman all involved in the story so they can be in that line, which I think Medicom is smart enough to know they'd need to do anyway. But the second request, there you go, would be Wonder Woman wearing gold rather than silver in the story, because I just don't think that silver looks quite right with Wonder Woman. I like kind of the red and blue and gold because it kind of reminds you of the ultra heroic colors, kind of like Superman, I suppose. So I just think that's a better look for Wonder Woman. Aside from that, go nuts. I don't care which Green Lantern you throw at me. I don't care which Flash you throw at me. I don't care what other characters are in the league. Make sure you get those 3 done. Add whatever other characters are necessary for the story. Let's make it happen. And I know that many of you are sitting there right now thinking to yourselves, wait a sec. 7, 8 figures, JLA team? That's not a dream project. Ladies and gentlemen, I said Wallpaper. These things at the low end are going to be $80 to $90 shipped. 7 or 8 figures, come on. I think that's more than any HasLab that's been out yet, am I right? Yeah. Okay, I'm not right about much, but I am right about that. Number 6 would be a 1/12 scale TIE Advanced for Darth Vader to fly around, because Darth Vader in a TIE Advanced is just wickedly cool. I need it in my life, and I'm not all that picky about whether or not it's Hasbro or SHF, though I will say Hasbro has proven that they can do vehicles for 1/12 scale figures, so I'd probably lean that way if for no other reason than the fact that if SHF were to do it, it would cost a ton just to ship it here, so the Hasbro variety is probably where I'd go, but just check this thing out. It is absolutely wicked, and I think of this the same way I think of Luke and his X-Wing fighter. Like, this is Darth Vader's ship. This thing is menacing, it's crazy, it's almost creepy like Vader himself. It's just, ooh, like you see this thing coming at you and it's just one of them. You know who's behind the wheel. Do they have wheels in space? Joystick? Huh. As much of a Star Wars nerd as I am, I can't think of what Vader was holding while he was flying that thing, which... that's kind of a wrong way to phrase that, probably. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. I really want this TIE Advance to go with just a really menacing Darth Vader, and it should come with a really menacing Darth Vader. I'm not a big tears guy, I'm not a fan, but if you have to throw in tears with stuff like this, maybe laser effects or something, but the base model needs to come with the TIE Advanced and Lord Vader himself. The number 5 dream project that I want to see is a 1/12 scale X-Wing fighter, Luke Skywalker style, and I think this is a good call only because the X-Wing still exists in today's current entertainment, as the Black Series team likes to say. So I would like to see Hasbro tackle Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. Now, how feasible? I think that that and the TIE Advanced are feasible, but we'd be paying more than probably anything has come before for either one of them. So yeah, I guess it kind of just depends on whether or not people are willing to pony up, but it would be the same exact deal that I had with Darth Vader's TIE Advanced. The tiers, if they had to be there, would be laser fire, maybe a couple explosion effects, something like that. But the base model of this bad boy, it's gotta come with the X-Wing, and it's gotta come with Luke Skywalker, because if it doesn't have Luke, how can we really be sure it's Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, huh? Okay, ignore the markings on the ship, because I know that's exactly how we could be sure it was Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. My number 4 dream project would be if Medicom Mafex were to tackle the 89 Batmobile. That's right, friends. I want an 89 Batmobile from Medicom. Now, second, third, fourth place, whatever, in the Batmobile race there, I almost don't care. Don't make it the 66 or anything before, but pretty much anything after the 66, game on. I'd be happy if Medicom just made that Batmobile. Sign me up, here's my money, I'd take it. But the dream Batmobile from them would be the 89 Batmobile. For whatever reason, and probably nostalgia, probably that I was a kid when this first showed up, I love that design. That is by far my favorite Batmobile design. And I'm talking by far. Second, again, probably because of me growing up when I did, would be the look of the Superpowers Batmobile that came out in, I think it came out in the first grouping, so maybe 84. It was somewhere 84 to 86, somewhere in there. But if Medicom were to tackle that 89 Batmobile, or failing that, tackle that Superpowers Batmobile, I'd be stoked. And I know that McFarlane put out the 89 earlier this year. The first one with a gray canopy just left a bad taste in my mouth for DC Multiverse as a line. Like before, I wasn't sold on it. I didn't see it as improving or getting much better. I kind of see that now with the figures, but those business practices, that kind of ticked me off, and I didn't even buy the thing. But I would have had I been able to find it, and then I would have been really ticked that I got in the gray canopy. And then they tried to course correct, and the new one with the black canopy is still up on Amazon, so you can get it. Link in the description below. But for me, it's too little too late. You've heard me talk about with Transformers. I bought a few that weren't very good, and it's really hard for me to jump back in. I just pretty much have nothing to do with DC Multiverse at this point. Maybe Lobo and the Space Hog, we'll see. But that's kind of a digression to basically say, somebody tried the 89 Batmobile, it wasn't up to snuff. Let's get somebody that is awesome with all their DC figures to make an 89 Batmobile, see what happens. Because again, I will give you my money, Medicom. Number 3, and I don't see this one as feasible because maybe it's just me and 3 or 4 other people in the world that might want this, would be Yoda's hut on Dagobah. Yoda somehow, growing up, was one of my absolute favorite Star Wars figures. It was basically Han Solo, Yoda, and Darth Vader, and it kind of just depended on the day which one was my favorite. But Yoda, there was always something that cracked me up about that guy. And I didn't watch Sesame Street because I thought it was dumb. Muppets? Exceptional. Sesame Street? Huh? Why do people like this? That was basically how I was. So I didn't have the Fozzie Bear connection, so when I first heard Yoda talk, it was Yoda. There was no other anything I was thinking there when it came to that voice. So really dig Yoda. Other companies have done the hut. We've got Lego that did it. We've got all kinds of little screenshots and little maps and all this stuff that could make it so somebody could make it. This is something that I could actually see a third party being able to jump on, but again, I don't think even a third party would do this because I'm not sure the audience is there for it. So let me know in the comments, what do you think of Yoda's hut? Because I would totally go nuts for that no matter who made it, as long as it were 1/12 scale. And I'm really hoping there's more of you out there, because I don't want to be the only weirdo. And now, the number 2 dream project I'd like to see get made would be made by the G.I. Joe Classified team, and that would be the Havoc. Yes, friends, the Havoc. That Havoc. The one that would absolutely have no real utility on any kind of battlefield, because anybody riding along the sides of it would basically just get crushed. But still, this vehicle holds huge sentimentality to yours truly. For whatever reason, I think maybe my family kinda liked this thing, and the only reason I say that is because most of the time, if there was a toy growing up where I was like, ooh, I really want that, I might have to do some chores to kinda earn that toy, you know? But with the Havoc, what I had to do was memorize the acronym. Heavy Articulated Vehicle Ordnance Carrier, that's right. I still know that acronym. So with that, it was memorize the acronym and we'll get it for you. And that's how I got the Havoc. So I thought that was kind of cool. I love it. I love that it's got the little ship that can come out through the back. That's awesome. The drab green, like the military green with the orange missiles and all that stuff. I think that's very cool. I think cross-country today, you can't really do some of the stuff you got to do back in the 80s, but I think that can be taken care of with just a regular baseball hat and maybe just a regular belt buckle. So I can see the Havoc coming with cross-country, and again, I'm not a fan of tiers. I know a lot of people like them. I'm a big fan of here's the base offering, and here's how many we need for the base offering, and then here's how many beyond for whatever tiers. I actually like the way they did Giant Man. So for the Havoc, we know that that team can put together some insane blast effects. So I'd like to see a bunch of that. Maybe some kind of light up, maybe inside the canopy. I don't know. I'm not that picky. I just want a Havoc, and I'm totally cool if they decide to modernize it. I've got the Hiss coming eventually, and I'm going to leave it as the modernized classified version because I like newer looks. I like things to look like they've been updated. I am not all 80s all the time, but I'd take the Havoc either way because that, my friends, is a dream project for yours truly. Now, before we get to my number 1 most wanted dream project, here are some honor. I'm kidding. We're going right to number 1. And ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to dream projects, this is the dream for yours truly. This will likely never get made. In fact, if you were to comment on all the things I've talked about so far as feasibility, I think the Dagobah set has a better chance of getting done than what I'm about to say. Ladies and gentlemen, the ultimate dream project for yours truly would be a HasLab 1/12 scale Millennium Falcon. Yeah, that thing would probably cost a couple grand. Shipping would be insane. Here's how I'd like to see them do it, though, in case they're somehow thinking, can we actually make this work? I think what you need is something that can be pieced together and then pulled apart a little bit, so each part can be sort of like its own little playset. You can still put it all together and have this just insane, massive ship, but you can have something where the cockpit maybe lights up, for instance, and then you can pull the cockpit off so you can stand it on something and really get in there with a camera, take really cool pictures of that kind of thing. You've got the table with a sabak. You got all that. You got Luke's thing hanging down, so he's got the blast shield. Ooh, maybe the Millennium Falcon could come with a blast shield. Yeah. And we do want this to have the old style, like, original trilogy radar dish, but maybe a tier could be getting the sequel trilogy radar dish. But who am I kidding? There's gonna be no tears for this thing because it's not happening. But imagine setting up where you're getting a picture of the Sabacc table, and you've got R2 and Chewie and 3PO standing there, and maybe there's a little tiny, just translucent plastic hologram going on. You've got lights lining the interior, you've got the halls, and you can break all this stuff away so you can really focus your camera in on this one part of the shot, light it up however you want, but maybe you wouldn't even need to light it up because of all the lights that would be happening inside. But, you know, if you could cut costs by not putting tons of lights, I'd be good with that too. But speaking of costs, what if, like when this thing landed, you have it just kind of standing on its legs or whatever, and you can push a little button and there's a mister in there. So, like when it lands, you see a little bit of mist popping up, kind of like you would in Empire and pretty much everything else. So it lands and it makes a sound, and you see all this mist popping up. Oh, that would be so cool. And of course you need the lights for the back so that you can see when the engines really engage and all that good stuff. Yeah, that is my ultimate dream project. And I don't see it ever getting made. So, of course it comes with Han and Chewie. And it could be their looks from any of the original trilogy movies. I'm not picky. Okay, I am picky, but I'm not picky about that. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Those were the 7 dream projects I'd like to see some action figure companies tackle. Dare to dream. Now do me a favor and comment below, and first and most importantly, let me know what you think the feasibility of my list happening is, because right now, I'm not thinking a whole lot of that's very feasible, and frankly, I need hope, people. Give me hope. But then, comment with the dream projects you'd like to see get made, because hopefully some of those are gonna happen. That would just be straight up sweet. And now, it's time for today's Toypixx photo on Newest Figure Day. And here he is, folks. It's Chuckles, getting saved by Kill Switch and Eclipse from Action Force. Because, here's what happens, G.I. Joe has to have plausible deniability. Chuckles who? We didn't send anybody anywhere named Chuckles, that's crazy talk. But then, Hawk gets on the phone and he's like, hey, guys, you guys got anybody that can go in and rescue our boy? And Action Force is all like, heck yeah, we do. And they send in Kill Switch and Eclipse to make it happen. Kill Switch is providing cover, while Eclipse is trying to help Chuckles onto his feet. And ladies and gentlemen, this was a fun one for me to shoot. Now there's a QR code on it so that you can scan and go to the X/Twitter, here's my standard joke, whatever Elon feels like calling it today, and comment with your own image of your newest figure or figures, because we all want to see them. Let's see what everybody's picking up. That is where the fun's at. And now, it's time for today's Patreon freebie. Today's Patreon freebie was suggested to me by Toypixx patron Jonathan Childress. Thank you for the suggestion, sir. It's always nice to be able to put this kind of stuff together. Jonathan suggested this swamp background, and usually when I get a suggestion from somebody, I kind of think, well, it can't just be him. Somebody else is going to want a swamp. But here's the problem with the swamp. I can only think of Gung Ho and Zartan and the Dreadnoks as being characters to use a swamp. And that's me thinking all across the pop culture sphere. So do me a favor, and when you're done leaving all the other comments, let me know if you can think of any other characters that hang out in a swamp. Now, Jonathan suggested this, and I did it because he's a member of one of the paid tiers on the Toypixx Patreon. They allow somebody to make suggestions based on videos, based on instruction sheets, based on backgrounds, things like that, depending on the tier you're in, basically helping to steer the Toypixx ship. So that's kind of the benefit, besides the fact that when I'm selling stuff, my patrons hear about it before everybody else. There's also the free tier, so you get all the stuff with the free tier as well. So you'll get this background, you'll get anything I post there, but you don't get to steer the ship, kind of like everybody that's in the paid tiers. So there's your difference there. Now, the QR code's there. Scan it if you like a swampy background, because really, it was kind of fun to make. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I've got for this one. So as always, thanks a ton for taking the time to check out today's video. Hugely appreciated. And until next time, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.